Don't bail your board. That's such an important one. People are dumb. That could be my biggest one.
Every time it's over chest high, I feel like there's people bailing their
Like,
boards.
you have to look behind you. If you're a new surfer watching this, look behind you before you bail your board. As somebody that's taken a few face shots in the last couple of years and destroyed his face on my own fault, I would hate to have, like, somebody else do that to me and have it be their fault.
What's up? Welcome back to the Host Stevie Surf Show. I'm Shane. We got Justin over here, Steve in the middle. Today we're going to talk about different surfing rules. We're going to talk about some that we like, some that we don't like, and some that we would make up, if we had the chance to create a surf rule for everybody. So I'll hop into some of the ones that I like. People waiting their turn is really rad. Nobody
like
likes to
etiquette?
get cut in line.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's up?
I like etiquette rules. I
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
sure what rules.
Yeah, I mean etiquette rules. It could be surf contest rules. It could be any of that stuff. Like I think there's some like overlap there too. Like there's some weird stuff that only happens in surf contests that you'd like never do. To, like,
So
meet
what's your because you just said waiting your turn.
Yeah.
So is it the classic thing? Is it whoever's closest to the peak or whoever's like been there longer? What's the hot debate there? Is right? Because because you're how does it, well there's some debate about.
So it's closest to the peak is kind of the old rule when people were surfing like point breaks or reef breaks. It falls apart a little bit at a beach break. And really, you're not supposed to like paddle deeper than people when you're at a
You're
point
supposed
break.
to like if you catch a wave, then you have to wait to get back to the. You
Yeah.
can't just paddle right to the peak.
No one does that anymore. So it's kind of fallen apart a bit recently, and especially like post-COVID, there's a lot of new people who don't really know like the old surf etiquette rules. And so yeah, I think like one rule that I like and think should be a little more enforced is like whoever's waiting longest. Generally, I mean, yeah, if you're out at Trussell's, it's kind of hard to keep track of everybody, but if you're at like some beach break or there's not that many people out, it's pretty easy to just know who's been waiting the longest and kind of like,
Even if they're not the closest to where it's breaking.
well, if you catch a wave, you paddle right back out, you sit deeper than everybody, you take off the next wave, you do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
Are all of those yours just because you paddled deeper? I don't really think so. Like, I think that's kind of...
Yeah.
Because what if, like, somebody keeps doing it and then they're not making any waves because they sit themselves too deep? That happens at, like, a lot of point
Or what if you
breaks.
pass it up and then the person doesn't? Then the person that like you think has priority that you gave it to doesn't get the wave. Then you gotta.
Yeah, but if they miss it or if they paddle for it
Then
and miss
you
it,
say,
that's
it's
their turn.
yeah,
I
okay.
mean, I'm
Yeah.
where I grew up, it was like you do 3 paddles for a wave and that's your turn. Like if you just do one,
Wait,
like
if you
kinda
miss 3
stroke towards
waves?
it- No,
Oh,
if you
gotcha,
paddle
gotcha.
3 times, so 3 paddles. If you
Yeah.
if you do that, that's your turn out. That's what I was told by some
Hope you
holster
got
fans,
some
pretty
like,
reasonable.
good
like-
paddling strength.
Yeah. I
Three-
mean, don't
3
paddle
strokes
for a wave
only
you're not gonna
otherwise.
catch. I mean, that's another good one that fits in there if you're not going to catch it. Like if you
Yeah.
commit to more than 3 paddles and you're going for it, that's your turn.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't think you're going to catch it, don't paddle.
Yeah.
But that's a tough one
I think it's kind of it depends on the spot you're at too.
for sure. And
You know?
and I've heard some like tourmaline. Somebody was telling me it was tourmaline. It was first person up to their feet, but
Oh yeah,
if
maybe
people are
that's
way inside of you, then you yield to like the short boarders. And I
yeah,
was
because
like,
the
that's
long
so
boarders can
complicated.
catch it from so far outside. That's maybe what I was thinking.
I was like, that's a really complicated way to do that. But tourmaline like breaks so differently than most other waves. It's such a soft, rolly wave that like I don't know.
Yeah, so here I had my own experience at Tourmaline. So it was the last time I surfed there. It was like a year ago, and there's this one longboarder, and he was catching all the waves because you can. You're on a longboard, and he would catch a wave. He'd go out there, and he was honestly just taking a break, like a breather for himself, because he just had to paddle all the way back, and he'd let like 3 waves go, and then he'd take the next one. Technically, I guess if you're going by like who stayed there the longest, he should have let a lot more waves go. But as a shortboarder, kind of like he brought the better board, he's entitled to more waves because of that. I was kind of okay with it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
generally if I see somebody on a shortboard when I'm longboarding and like a bigger wave comes in, I'll just
Let him
the
do it.
shortboarder go because I don't really care to longboard a bigger wave.
Yeah.
also shortboarding Termo. I got called out really hard by this guy, Josh Hall. He's like a local like shaping legend. Me and my buddy were shortboarding there, and he paddles by us and just looks over. He's all, shortboarding Termo, huh? And we were just like, oh man, like
I'll go in now.
It was like a really good shore breaky day there. Like it was like chest high and like actually punchy and good for little airs. But we were both.
Well,
like,
what does he care?
Oh man, I mean he's just talking shit because he's a funny guy. He sponsors my good buddy Nico, and like I've seen him at contests for years. Like he's just a bit of a shit talker.
You're
and
not going to get any
that.
waves. Basically, right? Because all the longboarders get on them.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were like scrounging on the inside. I was getting run over by a bunch of sketchy people. So yeah, that's my favorite.
I can agree with that
rules.
Yeah, and take your turns.
Yeah,
Gotta have some order out there.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. When I think of surfing, I'm anti-rules. Like unless it comes down to like letting everybody get their wave, so it's just like not the best guys out there stealing every wave, and safety stuff. Like don't bail your board.
Yeah.
Use a leash if you don't know how to surf without one. But other than that, like let's let it just kind of self-regulate, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Kind of like a libertarian.
Don't bail your board. That's such an important one.
Such an important one.
People are dumb. That's like, that could be my biggest one.
Yeah, me too.
Every time it's over chest high, I feel like there's people bailing their boards.
Like you have to look behind you. If you're a new surfer watching this, look behind you before you bail your board. If nobody's behind you, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But like you got to check. You can't just bail it. As somebody that's taken a few face shots in the last couple of years and destroyed his face on my own fault, I would hate to have like somebody else do that to me and have it be their fault.
Yeah,
I'd be very upset.
And use a leash as a last resort. Like, don't trust your leash if you bail your board and just let it go, especially on bigger boards. Like, leashes pop off ankles all the time, even if it doesn't
Unless
break
it's a
in half.
Stevie leash.
Not even breaking in half, just the Velcro ripping off can happen, like, very easily. Like, it's
and unless you're on a longboard, too, you're better off just trying to duck dive. Yeah. Like, the hold down is worse, in my opinion.
I don't know. I always used to take... I think it's the easy way out. You just ditch your board and swim under, but then, like... you gotta be a man and hold on to your board. Try the duck dive. Yeah. But like honestly, swimming under is way easier.
But you're held down longer.
Not then like if you duck dive a massive wave that you're not gonna get through, and then it sucks you over the falls, and then you're just like holding onto your board, like doing all this, versus just like swimming under and feeling a little tug at your ankle. It's way easier, but then you're being like a little pussy. So.
I guess it depends. I've bailed my board a few times.
You're basically bailing your board if you're letting it go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if nobody's behind you, you can do it. But then you're just being a little baby. So.
Another one is like a lot of people when they're newer, they just try to paddle to the shoulder when a wave comes in. But oftentimes you'll end up like, this is a super important rule. They will paddle towards the shoulder while you're riding towards the shoulder, and you're kind of going perpendicular to each other. That's where collisions happen. So if you're paddling back out, you want to either paddle behind the person and kind of pass them parallel, or you want to go way around the outside of them. And we talked about this in the last podcast. Steve wasn't here, but I'm just going to reiterate, like, if you're paddling towards the shoulder and someone's surfing towards the shoulder, you might get run over. If you paddle towards the peak and they're surfing towards the shoulder and you're going in opposite directions, you're pretty unlikely to get run over. And same with if you paddle way around the peak and they go past you. It's always better to pass each other parallel than
maybe
you gotta take the whitewash on the head if you're paddling out to avoid the guy on the wave.
Maybe you guys can elaborate on this, but for me, I've gotten anxious when I was learning, and I'm like trying not to like cause a collision, and I'll be watching the surfer as I'm paddling for the shoulder, and every time I've done that, it's been a close call. Like it's almost better off, like looking at.
You're just like watching him surf,
yeah,
and
like,
then all of a sudden he's.
Well, yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like you automatically go where you're looking type of thing, and it's like a lot of surfers, like me. I can only speak for myself, but like. I would be afraid of causing a collision. So therefore, I would watch the surfer. So I know where he's at all times, so I'm not going to get in the way. And then by happenstance, just like paddling right in his line of surf.
I do that with Shane because I like watching him surf. I get entranced by his fluidity. And but It's been a while since we surfed together, actually.
That reminds me of IB when I almost killed you.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. That was a close one.
No, I did that once at Terma PB Point when I was just starting. And I was like so psyched, like just watching the guy rip. And then he like threw water in my face. He did a big turn in front of me, but he did it like aggressively. I was like, I don't know if I cheered the guy on or I was like, had a big smile on my face, and he just dumps water in my face. And I'm like, he seemed upset about that. I don't know if he was like just doing a turn or if he was like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, some guy did that to me in Bali too, and I was like, fuck yeah. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, whether or not it was malicious, it's like, that dude knows what he's doing.
yeah.
I'll take it.
I like doing that, but I normally apologize to people. As I go by. Like, sorry. And I yell back, like, nothing personal.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're in the section, you're in the section.
Amen,
I'm
dude.
gonna try to do a turn there.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any rules in surfing that you think? Do you have any more that you do like or wish more people knew about?
Good question. I mean, everyone like, the whole localism thing sucks, but also works. So it's
Yeah.
I hate going to like any localized spot just because like even like is like the common one, or a jetty I should say, where it's like a bunch of old guys, and then it's like what are you gonna do? A bunch of my friends have gone there and the old guys hassle them and they're like, all right, let's go fight, and then the old guys like back off. So it's like they're not going to do anything anyways, but at the same time I just don't want to surf around like angry people giving off bad vibes. So like it's kind of like sucks that it works, but it works. So I don't know, you either got to ignore it or surf somewhere with nicer people.
I like localism from a safety perspective, like pipeline, like guys, telling someone, hey, you're not ready, you can't keep surfing out here, you're endangering other people. I like that kind when it's some like bad day at some break, like I don't know, why are you making surfing not fun? Like it doesn't make like it gets to the point where it doesn't make sense. And like I'll tell people like when they'll surf a reef out by my house that they're way in over their head and I don't want to have to like paddle in to the boneyard where it's all rocky and like rescue them potentially. I'm like, hey, listen, you're kind of in over your head and like it's not really fair to like make other people have to rescue you because you're like, putting yourself in a really dangerous place. Like, maybe just head down the beach tourmaline and start there, work your way up, get more comfortable and and I'll pull them aside and do it like calmly. Yeah,
see, that's the thing. If you could actually like tell people, hey, that was like out of line, this is how it works, instead of just like yelling at everybody and not like beginners don't know. Like I remember at Tourmaline, I got ran over when I was starting because like dropped in on a guy. He was on the wave forever. And I was like, all right, he rode it like almost all the way in. I'm just on the inside. My turn. I'll jump on. And then I like go for it. He just nails me. And I was like, oh, I guess like that's not how it works. But nobody ever said to me, like, you got to wait your turn. Like if somebody's on the wave, you can't just drop in on them. So I feel like that would help. But we don't got enough people like you explaining it to
Have you had to have that conversation a handful of times?
When I was younger, I would just scream at people, and I don't think it ever changed anyone's behavior. And then as I got older and more mature, and like I was like, now I should probably like explain this calmly. And like, I've had that conversation dozens of times. All the time, because I surf some like fairly dangerous reef breaks, and like seeing somebody almost drowning across a bunch of rocks. I'm like. Like I'm not the type of person who's like not gonna rescue them if they're in trouble. But I'm like, listen, man, that like sucks that you're making it where I might have to do that and like damage my board, hurt myself, hurt you, whatever. Like nobody wants to do that. So I'll just pull them aside and be like, hey, listen, like kind of in over your head, and that's okay. But like, maybe come back in a few years once you've gotten some more experience. And generally they're like, oh, thank you. Like I didn't know it was dangerous in there, because often they don't. And
well, it's also like if someone drops in on you, maybe they just don't care and they know the etiquette, and so you're like, do I tell them, or are they just an asshole and dropping in on me, like like Jeff.
Depends on their skill too. Well, when you got a good surfer, like when you get cut off and like the guy who cuts you off just like rips a line, you're like, that guy's a dick. But if I got like somebody on a wave storm that cuts me off, it's like clearly they just don't know that's not cool.
Yeah.
But fuck it, Jeff.
Any rules?
I wonder if he watches this.
Any rules you can think of that gotta go?
I second Steve with the localism stuff. I think it makes sense. I respect localism when it's at a place that is super popular and the people that surf that break don't have the means to get out and surf other spots. That's where it makes sense. Like the Hawaii things, like everybody's flying there. They want to surf that spot. A lot of the locals, they don't have the ability to surf anywhere else. So there it makes sense. But
Mexico,
going back to
for
Mission
sure.
Jetty, it's like, what are we doing here, guys? Like you're ruining a really fun spot. Like, I don't know. That's kind of my
Yeah,
take
I think
on
it
that.
should be skill based, not the people that are like, I'm a local, I live here, where are you from type thing. Like, if you can surf the wave, then surf it. It doesn't matter where you live.
I like to keep a
Can't
copy
think
of
of
my
anything
lease in my wetsuit at all times. So
Justin
if I get
just
shit, I can
moving
just
to
pull
OB
that.
now, so laminate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of I'm like, I think people definitely like take it way too seriously and should have more fun with it. But yeah, I don't know any other like any rules.
What
I'm
about?
sure there's a lot of contest stuff that I
Yeah.
don't even know about.
I'm anti-rules, but I like to get your guys' take on like filming spots and talking
Oh,
about
dude.
talking about spots.
Great one.
Yeah.
Zeke?
Yeah, Zeke had a great post on that. Definitely stirred up some drama there. But I mean, I kind of agree with him. Like, it sucks that these guys are, collecting all these film parts and they're paying guys to film them, and then all that footage is just on YouTube the next day, like completely blowing up the
Are we
spot.
turning this into a Zeke response video? Because
I don't think
because
we have
like
time
I
for
could
that
go
one.
on and on about that, but it's from the guy that films YouTube videos and then is going to complain about other people posting on YouTube.
I think you should wait, like, I don't know, a moratorium of like a week if it's just raw footage.
Great. Who
or
decides?
something,
Why do you get to
like-
decide that? You're like
I don't like
all the
blowing-
other old people that are like, back in my day, we used to do it this way. Well, the times are changing, and you can't just like tell people not to change. AI is happening. Like, people are going to use it. You can't just say like, oh, this is not how we used to do it, so you shouldn't. Like, people are gonna change the way. Like, yeah, people used to film parts and do all that stuff, and now we have social media, and you can't just tell people don't use it because this is how we used to do it.
No,
in my opinion.
I think, if I get like a good Surfline clip or something, I wait a week because I don't want people to know exactly when it was, what the swell was like then, to like blow up my own spot and like then have to deal with crowds because I posted it somewhere and it got a bunch of traction or whatever.
But and
like,
you're also not
that's
trying
self-preservation.
to like grow an audience or whatever. So what was the guy's name that posted that video that Zeke was complaining about?
I don't actually know.
It was like
Yeah,
a
I think I
famous.
saw
It was a
that.
famous guy that not just like a YouTuber guy. It was one of the most like well-known filmers. And he posted and it got like 100,000 views the first 24 hours. Then it was up to like 500,000 a few days after. And it's like, if he had waited a week, like that wouldn't have gotten the attention because like that's the whole point of posting it. Then is people want to see it as it's happening. So to say wait a week, it's like, hey, Stab, wait a week before you post any news, please, because whatever.
And like Zeke's part's still going to be sick, even though we've seen that. Like putting a compilation of a bunch of epic waves, even if we've seen one or two of them, it doesn't. For me, it doesn't ruin a part. I'm like, oh, that's sick. Like,
Right,
it's
and
the way it's
before
edited together,
there
the
was
music, whatever.
Before there was video cameras invented, people used to you could only make money from being in a contest or like whatever in real life, right? And then video cameras were invented. So are we gonna say, oh, you can't use a video camera just because like back in my day we didn't have video cameras? Well, now we have social media, so like we're not gonna just do video parts anymore. Like there's different ways of you gotta adapt.
Yeah.
We're almost out of time too.
Yeah, we're getting close on the camera one.
Got, like,
So
5
my
minutes.
other gotta go one is blackballed or swim zones.
Ooh,
They're always the swimming
yes.
area is always it's like 10 people out in the water for 500 yards of beach, and then like 50 people surfing in like 300 yards of beach.
That's
Like
a good one.
the ratio is
really good
always
one.
off.
Yeah.
And I don't get why, like, PB it's awful, Mission Beach it's awful, Scripps it's awful. Like, why is there so much swim zone for like almost no one swimming out there?
Is there
I
a
hate
good
it.
is there a good blackball that you know of? Like one that makes sense?
No. None that I'm
I
aware
don't know
of.
that many, but I know like they do the wedge is like they do something with the timing of the wedge where it's like surfers can only go a certain hour, or maybe anyone with a board.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of weird because it's like nobody's gonna just go swim there anyways, so it's not like for the swimmers. Like in Mission and
body
PB,
surf,
it's but like they're all like good at what they do.
Yeah.
Whereas in like Mission and PB, it's like vacationers that want to just go out in the water.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's tough. I think like they do it kind of well because in Mission, anyways, it's like in between each tower it alternates. There's like a swim zone, surf zone, swim zone, surf zone, and if I've had days where the swimmers are out there and you're like catching waves into them. And when I lived in Hawaii, and there's this one like very like shore breaky spot. If you and all the tourists go out there and play around in the water, and you're surfing into them every single time. So unless you get there like early in the morning, and then they say like shark attack, sunrise, sunset. But like unless you get there before all the tourists get there, you're gonna be surfing into tourists the whole time. So I can actually I like the alternating in Mission Beach, and probably PB does it the same way of the Blackball.
Yeah.
It does, but the swim zone always seems so big, and then there's just always there's always swimmers in the surf zone also. And like scripts, sometimes there's literally like 10 people in like such a big space, and then there's like 100 people in a smaller space, and it's like, why is it not like adjusted depending on the crowds that day? Because the lifeguards set the sign out and put it up. Like if they don't see that many beachgoers or swimmers, put it here, and as it gets more crowded, just move it out and like shift people.
I hate it when I just want to go out for like a quick dip, and this is what I hate. And it's blackballed, so it's like the surf zone only, and I'm literally jumping in the water for like a jump in, and I'm getting out, and then they'll like yell at you.
I still do it. I don't get yelled at. I haven't.
Ever? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. They'll be on top of it in the summertime.
Yeah, I definitely got yelled at a lot surfing in the swim zone.
Really?
Yeah, especially at like PB Drive, because sometimes there's a rip right there too, and they'll be like,
it's
so fucking hard. Cause they'll be like, there's a rip, and they'll be like, you gotta surf past the cone. I'm like, I'm on a treadmill right here. Like I'm not going anywhere. It's ridiculous. But I've thought about like just getting like a shark sighting sign, and then when there's a bunch of swimmers, just put it in there, letting them disperse, and then going back out and surfing for as long as I want to. Take my sign with me and be gone.
Good idea.
Yeah. We'll have CJ edit that.
We should. We should do that this summer.
Any fun rules?
Fun rules.
I got one. If you get so we have a PB Drive rule. If you get a spot in the lot, you got to paddle out.
Oh,
Even if it's shit, you got to paddle out. Yeah,
that's fair.
Yep.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Instead of just watching it.
And if you get the very front spot, which is the mayor spot, you get to snake your buddy on one wave.
Is there actually you just call it the mayor spot, or is it actually?
No.
Gotcha. I didn't know if it was reserved.
You're the mayor
for,
of PB Drive if you get the very front one that's on the.
And what do you do then?
You get to snake your buddies on one wave because you got the
Jeez,
mayor
you
spot.
get premier parking and you get to snake your buddies.
Yep.
Wow.
Everybody bows down to you too.
You just like park outside waiting for that spot to open up all night.
It's pretty rare. I've only gotten it a couple times. It's very rare that you get one of those spots. And then another one is if your buddy says go, you got to go. If it's a good wave or a big bomb or something,
as long as it works the other way too. If he calls you into something, then you got to go whatever he calls you into.
Yeah, because
I like that about
a burger. He's got it. You can just sell him back on one.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that part about surfing with friends versus by yourself. You always go on like crazier shit than when you're just by yourself. At least one guy sees it.
Yeah. I think I'm out of rules.
I think we're out of time.
Yep.
I'm surprised we got 2 minutes. But that's good. I haven't thought about rules. Put me on the spot there. We had some good ones.
I don't like there's one surf contest one where you can like drop in on somebody if you have priority but they're deeper than you just to like shut their wave down. There's some
if they have priority you can drop in on them?
No. So if you're deeper, there was some incident that it was Gabriel Medina and Caio Abelli, I think. Where Caio is deeper than him at pipeline, he gets this wave and Gabriel just drops in and like goes straight and basically like shuts this wave down. No, you know what it was? Caio had priority, but he had 2 really low scores. Gabriel had 2 high scores. Kaio has priority. Gabriel drops in on him and straightens him out because he knows that he will lose half of his. He'll lose his entire lower score or half of his highest score, but he still knows he'll beat him because he just shut this wave down. And it was like, I thought it was like the scummiest thing ever. And everybody's like, no, that's like the smartest competitor thing ever.
You know, he's playing you got to play the game.
I was like, that feels dirty though. I don't know about that one. So that I don't like that rule, but I get that he did use it right. And he took the penalty or whatever. I thought it was really unsportsmanlike, but he got through the heat, and I think he might have gotten a world championship that year.
I think it's very sportsmanlike. He's literally playing by the rules the best that he can. And so, like, if you don't like the rules, let's talk to the WSL or whatever. But
they changed the rule after that because they didn't like it.
So fair, but like again with like the whole like filming thing, like you can't if you're just gonna then handicap yourself and not take advantage of whatever the rules are, just because like you feel bad about it, then you're gonna lose, son.
And that's the pod.
Nice.